these are the people who I want to appeal to. Make those little slips. It happens. You have to have a plan to manage your problems effectively. How are you going to do it? Fall off the horse? Jump right back on.
And welcome back. We're moving into our final segment for today, and of course we're in overdrive, but we couldn't miss this opportunity to really come and brock it down with Miss Jenny. Welcome back, Jen.
Thank you. Good morning, Belize.
Obviously, we have a number of issues that are tied into what's happening in the country, and so we want to touch on those issues and just offer a different perspective on what's there, because that's one of the things that you always champion, the idea that there are different ways to look at life, and this is your opinion,
my opinion,
grounded, of course, on your experience, but good food for thought. So let's start off with our first question, and it reads quite simply: Jenny, a longtime friend, we grew up like brother and sister, obtained a loan last year from the credit union to buy a car. I recently found out that he got the car, but instead of making the necessary repairs, he blew half of the money on personal expenses like bills and shoes and clothing. He went back to the credit union to refinance the loan to fix the car and was told that he needed a qualified borrower to co-sign on the loan before it could be approved. He is asking me to co-sign on the loan with him. I have no bills I would qualify. He's a long-time friend, Jenny. I feel really guilty saying no. I really need some advice.
My guts are saying no, no, no. No, no, and no. The only reason, honestly, that I would co-sign on any kind of loan, William, is for my child. Say my child needs to build credit. He wants to buy, not something as big as a car either. Maybe a used car. He's going to the credit union, and he needs to, they won't just lend out to kids who are coming out of college. So as a parent, you would co-sign on the loan or may co-sign on the loan because that's your child. The child defaults, you're the parent, you would help, you would find different ways of getting, teaching that child responsibility and getting them to do what they should be doing. But a friend, somebody who grew up, and obviously not somebody who is trustworthy, because he's taken money he's already gotten and spent it on frivolous kinds of things and didn't fix the car. So now he's got a car that needs fixing and he wants you to co-sign. When you co-sign, when you go and you're saying, I'm taking on this responsibility.
Should they default?
If this person decides they're not going to pay that loan, they'll come to you. They come to you to pay it. Not only that, once you co-sign on something, you can't borrow any money, because you are now responsible. They're holding you responsible for that person's loan.
I think besides the money, one of the questions that I get from this is the value of the friendship to her. And she feels as if though if I say no, it's going to ruin our friendship.
It'll ruin it anyway. Think about this. If this person, you already know this person is not really trustworthy, you come in nagging him. You pay your bill yet this month because that will be for me. You don't pay. The friendship is going to deteriorate because you're going to constantly be nagging him. Did you pay your bill? So that's going to get on his nerve and it's going to get on your nerve. So the friendship is going to be affected.
So what do you do in this situation? Because I think she feels as though she's in a catch-22 situation, and damned if I do, and damned if I don't.
No. It's clear. It's very clear-cut that you're taking on his responsibility. He has not demonstrated that he has good money. Talk to him about his spending. Talk to him about learning how to save. Talk to him about putting that money aside first so that he can then go repair the car without going to the credit union. Start putting that money aside. You might have to hook it. Walk to work for a while. But that's good. That he needs to learn that you just don't take money that you've been loaned to you to do something and just blow it on shoes and clothes, and then you want to come to me because I'm like your sister to give you money. That's irresponsible. And now I am guaranteeing that I'm going to pay this loan in case you default. And we know he's going to default because his track record shows that.
So she can basically prepare herself that the friendship will be damaged and there's nothing that she can do.
She can actually salvage the friendship by explaining to him, I cannot take on that responsibility. Yes, I may not have any bills, but I don't know, based on your track record, I don't believe that I can trust you to go and sign on for that.
But does that sound like a judgment to a friend?
But you have a track record. How does that sound like a judgment?
Because that's what some people will say, you know, like, you're judging me and you're my friend.
But you have a track record. You took the money that you got and you blew it on stuff that you shouldn't have been blowing it on. You were supposed to fix the car so that you could get to work, to and from work. You made a bad decision. Now, I don't want to go and involve myself in you possibly making a second bad decision. So let's look at budgeting. Let's look at how much money you can put aside every month and you can fix the car without borrowing money. Okay? Be a friend and teach him to do those things rather than taking on his responsibility, because that's what you're doing. When you go out and you sign, and a lot of people ask to co-sign. People come and say, co-sign for me. Co-signing means that I am taking on the responsibility of your bill. Because the day you don't pay is the same day the bank will come to me and say, you owe this much money this month because it wasn't paid. You are taking on the responsibility. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Only if it's perhaps a situation that is totally unavoidable, you'd say consider co-signing?
William, if it's a small thing and you don't mind losing your money, because you're taking the risk whenever you co-sign that that person may not pay, particularly if they have a track record of doing nonsense. He's already shown that he does not have a head for doing things like that, borrowing money and being responsible.
All right. Well, there's your advice. You asked for it and Jenny delivered.
I'm serious. This is cut and dried. I'm sorry.
All right. Let's move on to our next one. Okay. And very important one. It's question number 1. John? Jenny, I have a 9-year-old daughter who has been really scared of her shadow since her friends told her about the attempted kidnappings in various parts of the country. Since she heard that, she insists that I walk her to and from school. While I know that this is a serious situation, I'm not sure how to deal with her fear. I have to take off from work to go pick her up. She's acting like a baby, and I'm not sure how to handle this.
I don't think she's acting like a baby. I mean, I get nervous for the children when I think that there's somebody or people, several people out there trying to grab our children. This is very serious, William. You see, we have trained our children to be polite. If people stop you and ask for directions, we will stop. Our children will stop and they'll give directions, right? They'll even walk up to vehicles and if the person's saying, where is this? And they'll be pointing. We don't want the children to believe that it's safe for them to get in the car and go show them where somebody lives or what address they're asking for. But we have always trained our children to be polite. And now we have to break that and stop telling them that it's okay to stop as a child. I keep remembering the rash children from down south, right? I read in the Amandala recently that in Merida, that there was a van in Merida that was trying to grab children. And in the States right now, you know, I mean, it's big, big, big money for organs. So it's very possible that these people are trying to grab children to get their organs to sell. I mean, we're talking $250,000, $500,000 for one organ, right? And when they grab children, those are young, healthy organs. So we have to become very, very concerned and start teaching our children about safety. Somebody asks for directions, tell them, ask an adult. I don't know. Teach your child to say that and be very firm and walk away. Teach them to never approach a vehicle where it's got people in there that they don't know. Okay.
They can be overpowered easily.
Yes, very easy. They're kids. Or especially vans where they can open a door and just haul you in it and slam the door shut. They need to make sure that they are paying attention. And don't have your kids walking by themselves. Walk in groups. It's safer if they're walking in groups.
Now, what this person is asking also is the fear factor. How do you handle the fear? And we know that fear is oftentimes people consider it irrational, but this is a rational fear.
Rational, yes. We need to sit down and talk to our children. We don't want to scare them, but we want to prepare them. So we want to sit with our children and tell them, listen, we're in a new world now. People are actually coming here. They might be foreigners. Our borders are so porous, you know. So people are coming in, and they can be in cars, they can be in vans. They might stop you and say, hey, little girl, you know, I have this puppy. You want to see this puppy? Don't go to the vehicle. Teach your children never to approach a vehicle where there are strangers, or really never get in a vehicle even with your mother's friends. Do not do it. You remember when we were growing up, they used to tell you, don't accept candy from strangers. Don't go in a stranger's car. Don't go anywhere with a stranger. We know for a fact that closer to home, it's not strangers who bother our kids. But this is stranger danger. These are people, and they may get local people to work for them. We don't know. So we need to tell our children, don't approach the vehicle. Somebody stops and tries to show you puppies or anything attractive to children, jewelry, or they give you money, or they call you and tell you, here's food. Don't approach the vehicle. Run instead and go tell an adult. Run to an adult. All right? But we have to ensure that we are telling our children, without scaring them, that we have to now protect ourselves. Do not. If someone wants to know where somebody lives or something, tell them, ask the adults, I don't know, and run.
And what's your advice to the parent at this point? Because obviously this parent wants to stop because it's walking the child to and from school because of the impact on their work schedule.
While I understand that, she needs to organize or arrange with maybe neighbors who are taking their children to school. But an adult, really and truly, we need to get our children back with adults taking them to school. I see these little tiny things walking to school by themselves. I mean, where did we go wrong? We can't go to work and send off our children. We're in a different age. Our children are not safe. But we don't want to scare them. I'm just simply saying that we absolutely, and I'm hoping that schools take this seriously and ensure that parents start bringing their children to school and picking them up after school. And if children are going to be missing, call the school and say, my child's not going to be in school today, I'm taking her to the doctor. But let the school know, because the school might be there thinking that the child is home, and the child may have left and gone to school, and you think the child's in school, and the child had been grabbed or something. God forbid. But the point is, we now have to get very serious about ensuring that we alert the school and the school alert the parents if their children are not in school where they should be. And she's not being a baby. She has every right to be afraid.
She's 9.
Yes, she has every right to be afraid. And you have every responsibility as a parent to accompany that child. And if you can't, find somebody who can.
Find a solution,
yes.
But don't leave the child on.
Don't send that child unsupervised. We cannot do that anymore in this country. You know.
Let's do number 4. I have a 5-year-old daughter. I was 18 and her father was 17 when I had her. 5 months after she was born, he was murdered, shot, killed. Every other day or so, my daughter asks, Mommy, where is Daddy? I cannot bring myself to explain the circumstances to her. She started asking when she first started talking around 2.5 to 5 months after she was born. He was murdered, shot, killed. That
must have been years.
Yeah.
5 years.
She started asking when she first started talking around 2.5 to 3 years. What do I say and how do I say?
Wow. She sounds like she's still
she has her own loss
Yeah.
that she has to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what the sad thing is, William? A lot of these murders, the victims, the survivors who are left behind, the families, are not getting any kind of help. And in fact, right now we have trauma specialists in country. And people tend to want to associate trauma with wars and with torture, but we have everyday trauma in this country. And when you have someone like this, where this baby was just born, so she's still, with having her baby, and the baby's father gets murdered. And I'm sure she didn't get a chance to really grieve, because you have a young baby, you don't have a chance to grieve or anything like that. And the baby, I would imagine, all babies want to know where the other parent is. Maybe she has things around the house, I don't know, like pictures and things. The baby is asking. She can't talk to the baby because she herself is going through all of that trauma. And it's more than just grieving. It's the traumatic grief. Okay? It's long term, and she doesn't take care of herself. She herself, will have long-term damage. This baby, though, is in more danger, because we know the whole thing about the brain that's developing, and this child is asking a whole lot of questions. So if she does not get this baby, or get herself some help so that she can then love this baby in the way it needs to get the loving and the explanation the baby needs age appropriate, she can say daddy has gone to heaven. That doesn't mean anything to a 5-year-old. But it would at least give the child something until she gets to about 7, when you can sit and explain more to her. But you can't give what you don't have. And she doesn't sound like she got any help as yet. She needs to get through the process of grieving. Okay? And the denial, and sit and work through that, work through the fact that she has a love that she was snatched away from her. In fact, you listen to the way she said that he was murdered, shot, he was killed. They were young, vulnerable. The survivors, the people who are left behind, are really taking a packing, and we can't get to everybody. A lot of these folks have to know to ask for help. Come to the clinic, come to the site clinic, Port Loyola, Cleopatra White. Come to any of these organizations, go to a priest, but go to somebody and talk about what's hurting, how you're feeling, how you're coping, because and at this point that's become post-traumatic stress, because it's been, they say you want to get in and get help within 72 hours. Well, this has been, I don't know how many years, but it sounds like it's been a while, and she never dealt with it. And so she needs to go in and get help.
A very real issue.
Yes.
And a lot of people are facing that one. How do they deal with family members, the loss, especially due to murder?
With something like that, it's hard for her to, because I don't see how she can possibly give the child all the caring and love the child needs when she herself needs somebody to care and love for her. Now, if she can't talk about it, she cannot receive what people may be trying to give her, She needs help. She needs lots of help.
So seek some professional help for yourself, and then share age-appropriate information
with the baby.
To bring some closure there. Yeah. Let's do one final question, as we're fast approaching 9. I have a 13-year-old son, and we get along really well. He's not good at math or English. I believe he does his best, but these are not his subjects. However, my husband places a lot of focus on academics and high grades. Whenever my son has come home with a low or failing grade, my husband takes the belt to this child. Despite the beatings, his grades have not improved, and now he hates math, and I believe he's not trying anymore. My husband just does not get it. Can you say something about this problem, please?
Poor thing. William, I can tell you, I went to I'm not going to say where, but I remember getting smacked with a cane on my fingers, right? That didn't make me like math. It made me hate math. Hated it. Didn't want to go to school because I knew the minute I got into that class, I was just like confused. And if you missed one day because you were sick, and I was a really sickly child, if you missed one day, there were concepts you lost. And I'm not going to rag on teachers, but teachers have to understand if a child misses a day, you need to take that child aside, find time, and bring them up to speed with what they missed so that they don't miss concepts and get lost in the system. But this child is going through more than that. You know, he's at school, we don't know what's making him not like math. Well, we know that getting a beating is not going to help, right? But it's very possible sometimes, you know, you don't know what happens. If you go into the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, there's something called dysgraphia, where, you know, like a child just cannot learn how to do writing properly, or dyscalculia, they can't add, they just have a real issue with adding, and it's something in the brain. So first of all, you need to determine, is this something that's maybe the child's brain is built differently? It's not something he can control. And you have to go ahead and get him, he needs specialized training or help to be able to learn how to add or to learn.
So that's one of the advice that you can offer to the mother.
Yeah.
Get the child some additional help.
Yes.
Tutoring
Yes.
to change that mindset.
Yes.
In terms of
rather than beating
English.
the child, let's treat this in a loving way and get the child help. Find out how far back they need to go and give him the remedial help he needs. But the beatings have to stop.
So how does she communicate that? Because she seems to be immobilized by the actions of the father. So she's not willing or able or capable of standing up for the child to say, this is something I don't support and you have to stop it.
Just like that. Just like that. See, a lot of times as women, and I see this a lot with women in our country, they'll say, Dad does the discipline. You know, I leave Dad for the discipline. But if Dad's discipline is not working, and it's clearly not working, you need to intervene and step in and say, okay, this isn't working. Let's try something different.
And the child might actually be feeling worse now because in the back of their minds, they're putting so much pressure on themselves that they may black out or blank out during a test.
Listen, I blanked out totally when I was in school, man. I was like, they had to get me help. And then it's like, oh, but that's so easy. Why did I miss that? How did I not know how to do that? Okay, get a tutor and get somebody who's loving and somebody who's going to find out exactly where the child is not getting the concepts in English or math. And you get that, I'm saying again, watch the tutor you get. You want someone who is going to be kind and understanding and loving.
And the child is at a critical age because he's 13.
Yes, yes. Right? Really, really important that you get him the remedial help. Remember, a building cannot stand up if you have the foundation strong. All right? And a lot of our kids aren't getting the strong foundation. We're working with some children right now who are 10, 11, who cannot even recognize letters. They go in and they're giving a test and they sit there and they're not doing the test. Well, why aren't you doing the test? And then they're embarrassed, they're ashamed. I don't want to say embarrassed, they're ashamed to say to teacher, I can't recognize, I don't know what's on that paper. We have children who are dyslexic that parents don't know. They just say the kid's stupid, he can't learn. And even schools are not equipped to really be able to say, I think this child might be seeing things the wrong way. It's when we go in and we start asking the child, write for me. Or we write something and we say, what do you see? Write what you see. And when they write what they see, then you realize, oh my God. And there are different types of dyslexia. It's not just the dyslexia where you invert D's and B's or P's and Q's. No, it's the whole thing with dyslexia. Sometimes things are moving. Can you imagine a child going through that? We don't know what the situation is, but beating the child is not the answer. Parents have to sit and step back and say, okay, let's try tutoring. And mom, you have the responsibility of saying to dad, okay, your form of discipline is not working. I want to try something new.
And very often too, parents have this ability, or it's not an ability, but it's really, they want their children to do well, but they don't communicate why they want them to do well. And there's that additional pressure where you're living vicariously through your child.
Exactly.
So you cannot beat the child because you want them to do well in math and English, because of how important those subjects are in terms of academics. You have to make sure that you're communicating with the child as well.
Not only that, William, you know, I know a lot of people who feel that if I beat the child, I'm going to get more out of the child. Beating doesn't get more out of the child. What it does is it shuts the child down. And I'll tell you something else. It causes a power struggle. You get into a power struggle from a 2-year-old, you're going to lose. You can't get in a power struggle with a kid. You won't, there's no way, there's no resolution of that. You get through to a kid by stopping and saying, okay, what's going on? Why are you bringing home failing grades? You're a smart kid, you do well in everything else except this. What's going on? Maybe something as simple as they're teasing him in class, or you don't know what it is. Find out what it is. You don't have to yell at the child, you don't have to hit the child. Stop and ask the child what's going on. We have to communicate with our children. And definitely, beating a child does not make things better. All it does is create a chasm. And eventually, when that child grows up, they will hate you. And then you do not have any relationship with them in the years when you really need to have a relationship with them.
Well, very good advice. And the child may also recognize that because the mother does not support what the father does, there might be conversations on a side. So the child is even more confused because of the messages being sent by the mother and messages being sent by the father. And regardless of who's right and who's wrong, it is not good for the child.
I just thank God he has a supporter in mom, right?
So, well, Jenny, we want to thank you very much for breaking it down. Broke it down. That's Latina Creole. It just doesn't sound right in English, right? For breaking it down.
Breaking it down.
We broke it down this morning. Some very sensitive issues.
Yes.
And it points out very repeatedly how important communication is, and respect, and dealing with our issues instead of trying to walk away from them and hoping they'll disappear. So thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
All right. We're going to go ahead and take a final break, and when we return, it will be for a quick wrap. Don't go anywhere. Open Your Eyes concludes after these messages.
Make those little slips. It happens. You have to have a plan to manage your problems effectively. How are you going to do it? Fall off the horse? Jump right back on.
What do you want from your bank?
I want to know that my bank will teach me how to save.
I want to know that my bank can help to make my dream of owning a home a reality.
I want to know that my bank will help me grow my business and build Belize.
I want to know that my bank will keep my investment safe.
Whether you want to start a savings plan, build your own home, invest in your business, or plan for retirement, the Belize Bank is here for you. The Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
On March 4th, Belizeans countrywide will go to the polls for Decision 2015. Channel 5 and Love FM will be teaming up for a special municipal election coverage. We'll take you as close to the action as possible, and our reporters will have live reports from all across the country. Join our studio panel of political analysts and commentators who will be with you from 6 a.m. until the announcement of the results. Tune in on March 4th for Channel 5 and Love FM's Decision 2015. Our coverage, your vote.
Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us for a very extended show. Remember, if you have any concerns or comments that you'd like to send our way, don't hesitate to drop us a line at oye@channel5belize.com, William_oye@channel5belize.com.
And Marlene_oye@channel5belize.com. Thank you very much for joining us. And remember to tune in Monday morning at 6:30 when you open your eyes to start your morning right. Until then, have a great day. We'll see you soon.